Houston, say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Hey there folks, welcome you all to yet another Friday vlog of mine. Another Friday has caught up with us, people. Yes, it has. And I have been on holiday this week, people. Not away anywhere. I've been COVID-19 hiding. I've been self-isolating is what I've been doing, people. Not because there's anything wrong with me, just because I have 4 weeks of holiday left to take before July. That's how our holidays work in our work. Our yearly holiday count starts 1st of August, I think it is. So any holidays you have to use up before the end of July, and I've still got 4 weeks to take. Well, 3 now because I took this week off. But it just seemed like a very good time to take a week off, and I can't remember if I must have mentioned this in the other vlogs that I bought a bike. And I knew that the weather was going to be good this week, apart from 1 or 2 days where it was a bit more iffy. So I wanted to make the most of getting out on the bike and trying to cycle up some of the shore, because in Blackpool there's a whole entire seafront you can just cycle, and until I actually did it, I didn't realise just how far it went. But you'd be hard pressed to find anywhere on a coastline where you can stay, in the UK again, where you can stay on the coastline and cycle or walk, and never have to come off of the coastline. The only reason that I had to come off of the coastline on the odd occasion was just because they're actually doing it up. So anyway, that aside, I wanted to just relax for the week, enjoy the weather, get out on the bike as much as I could with some running. And as it happens, I kind of knew that I wouldn't be able to do as much biking as I wanted to, because I haven't biked in a long time, and if you're not biking regularly, you immediately get saddle sore from, you'll be out there for about 20 minutes and you'll start feeling it on your bum, people. So, and I went out I'd had a cycle, the first cycle I'd had was, I think it was on the Saturday, the Sunday just there, I think. Oh, I can't remember now. It might have been the week before. But the one good day that I had, I went out and just went for a cycle down the park and stuff. So this was my first proper, that was for maybe about half an hour. And the 2 cycles that I managed to get in this week were Monday and Wednesday. So I started Monday morning, the first day of the holiday. I was up early doors and I went for a 10k run in the morning. And then I came back, got showered up, cleaned up and everything, and then I went out on the bike for it must have been a good 2 hours. So I cycled down to the front and then I went left and just carried on. So it was from my house all the way to the seafront and then all the way up past where the pleasure beach is and all the way up that way and back again, which was brilliant. And I bought these little headphones, which are they're just down here actually. Have I shown you these already? I can't remember now. They're down here charging actually, but they're probably charged now. Hang on, we're going off camera, people. But they're literally down here by these blooming things here. If I can get the socket out. Oh, there we go. They're little Goji headphones. And I have talked about these headphones. I don't think I've shown them though. But that's them there. So they've got a little strap there linking them together, and that goes around the back of your neck. And the hooks go. I can't get it the right way around, people. Here we go. And they hook round your ears and slot in like so. And that goes to the back, but you get the idea. So it'd be like that. And they've been absolutely brilliant. And they were only 20 quid. And I put off getting a pair of these for so long, a Bluetooth pair, because I have trouble getting things to stay in my ears like that. Earbuds. Like I can't have an earbud without a hook. It will just fall out. And the only pair that, even with a hook, that I managed to stay in were I don't know, they were like 7 quid from Argos or something, front desk. And I've used the same pair, but they were wired. And every time I thought about getting a Bluetooth pair, I thought, well, I don't want to waste money if I buy them and they don't work. Anyway, I plumped for these at 20 quid because I was under budget when I bought the bike. And they've been absolutely brilliant. All right, they've not got the base of my big beasts, which are over there. These big beasts, which are my monster headset, which were, these were really expensive. and but they're waterproof. Well, they're water resistant, so I can still wear them in the rain. The bass and stuff on them is fantastic. So they're pretty unintrusive, and they cancel out noise a bit as well. So in the winter, I don't mind wearing those too much. And if I was working out, these are fine. And just in general use, they're fine. But on the bike, obviously, if I've got a helmet on, or if it does get to summer, I don't really want to run with these on, which is what I've been doing for the last number of years. So obviously the little hook-on ones haven't got the same bass and stuff that they've got, but they're still loud. I was really impressed with the volume I was getting out of them, even out of stuff that I'd ripped from quite old CDs where the volume isn't quite as good as some of the newer stuff. So anyway, I popped those hooked earphones on, and off I go on the bike, and it's just been an absolute dream. So Monday I got a good cycling of 2 hours along with that 10k run. Tuesday I had a chill out day. Wednesday I did a spring clean of the whole house, and I kid you not, I was cleaning from, I'm going to make a good wife to someone. I tell you ladies, I'll make a good wife to you. I was cleaning from 9 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon. I was gutted. I keep my house, pretty clean anyway, but there's the spring, at springtime you want to give it that proper good clean down. And I've still got a bit of the kitchen bit that I really want to sort of get proper cleaned up. Although it's tidy and stuff, but I'd like to give that a good gutting as well. In the midst of all of that, my washing machine finally popped because it'd been it's suggesting that it was going to pop for quite some time, and eventually it got to the end of the wash I did for my sheets and stuff, and it just went bang. There was a massive bang. So there was 400 quid I didn't plan on spending, but I've got a new washing machine coming on Monday. So that's been pretty much my week, outside of the gaming that we'll talk about, which I've started throwing up over the last few days. And so I want to talk a bit about I didn't take my holiday because of the coronavirus, but I just knew the weather was going to be good, and as it happened, I knew that my work was getting quite close to saying, I work from home a fair bit anyway, but they were getting close to saying, whenever you can work from home to all staff, because, it was getting to that point, which it's got to now anyway. I just wanted to take one of my weeks off and just chill out and enjoy the bike and stuff. But we will talk about the coronavirus, because it is only briefly, because it is, it's become such, it's just, my brain is kind of just, like most people, I think my brain is just a bit bamboozled by it. It's almost like, I feel like I'm in some sort of movie or something. Like, it doesn't feel like, every time I watch it on the news and stuff, I'm like, is this actually happening? Like, this will be like, if it's not, I've said this to other people, like, and we know this, like, we won't destroy ourselves with nuclear weapons or anything like that. The thing that will wipe us out or bring us near to extinction will be something like an asteroid hitting us, or it'll be a virus that we can't contain or fix. But this particular virus, I'm pretty confident we're gonna. What's the words I'm looking for, people? We're gonna send it back to where it came from. Nobody really knows where that is, but we're gonna beat it. It'll be fine. And I think because it's a strain that we can understand and get a handle on, I don't think it'll be too long before we've got an antidote or, a cure or whatever. So, and it is, at this point, it's, as far as I know, and from everything I've heard, it's only the very vulnerable and people with underlying conditions or the very old that are the sort of over 70s and or people that have got underlying conditions that are at the most at risk of dying from it. And I should have looked at the stats again, but I can't remember what the stat is now, but we've hit like 3,000 or 4,000 like deaths, which is just insane. That amount of people, in the global, I understand, like, if you look at the global billions of people that are on the planet, but if you try and comprehend 4,000 people, it's just, it's frightening. And I really feel for Italy and China, who've had the biggest hit of all. Well, China's obviously where it started, but Italy has now overtaken China with the amount of people that have died. Italy are really, Italy have been in lockdown with people not being allowed to go out or anything, and they just cannot get it to peak and stop. So, it's frightening. It really is. But try not to be too scared, and try not to be too worried, because it is the more vulnerable people that are at risk of something really. I mean, a lot of people get it and don't even realize they've had it. It's that it's that non-intrusive to some people. Other people get it and they obviously have a lot of respiratory problems, but they get over it, a bit like a big flu type thing. And then you've got the ones that are obviously going to be near death or dying from it because they've either got an underlying condition or they're an elderly person. So we've got to look out for those people, and those are the people that have got to isolate themselves as much as they can. But even if you're one of those people, you know, obviously you want to be fearful of it, but just isolate yourself as much as you can. And as they've said, like, keep washing your hands like more than you normally would, and wash them longer, especially if you've been, you know, to get some groceries because you have to, or you know, all that sort of stuff. So just follow the guidelines and hopefully we'll be okay. But what we do need people to do is isolate as much as possible. Like, go outside, that's fine. Like I've been doing, go for a cycle, go for a run or whatever. Even go golfing. I was watching a thing on golfing where you could go out and as long as you're staying about 2 meters away from the other person, don't shake hands, don't swap cards, you know, do things that you can still be around folk just at a little bit of a distance, and don't touch each other at all. And just try and keep that. Anything like if you're a younger person in your, I don't know, in your party zone of late teens or whatever watching this, and it's, you know, I know it's gutting not to be able to go to the pubs and the clubs and be around a gazillion people and have a good time. I mean, God, I remember it well, people, how much I wanted to go out at the weekends. But you please remember that, you know, there was young people on the news today. One person he said, you know, he goes, if you realise just how hard it's hit me as a healthy person, you would just avoid it. Like, just do something else. Even if that means, like, you know, having 4 or 5 friends at your place and keep it a small group, and just don't be too touchy with each other, and you know, keep washing your hands through the night and just have a nice time that way, or, you know, but just isolate as much as possible. Anyway, I mean, I find it interesting that the government's telling people not to go out, but they've not actually told the restaurants and stuff to shut down, which is a little bit harsh because it means the restaurants aren't getting any revenue, but the government aren't going to have to pay them money to say, well, here's lost revenue. Because it's like, well, hang on a minute, you're impacting my revenue by telling people not to go to restaurants and bars. So they should just tell them to lock down. Obviously the one thing we want to stay open is supermarkets and anywhere you can buy food, grocery stores and stuff. So yeah, and hopefully the government package will kick in where these businesses aren't affected. And, you know, I mean, there's so many different things we can talk about with coronavirus, but mainly, I mean, I've been going on for the best part of 15 minutes now, half of which has been about it. And we want to get on to the gaming, people, and we'll do that. But really my message was, I am going to commit to throwing up. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people at home now, a lot of people that are working online, or a lot of people that aren't going to be able to work at all, and they're going to be looking for, you know, if they're isolating themselves, they're going to be looking for some company. So it's given me a bit of a buzz to start recording a lot and try and post up as much as I can, so that you've got something. If you're someone who enjoys my channel or someone that's finding me new, it gives you something that you can get stuck into. So I had an itch to. Are we moving on from coronavirus now? I think we will. But anyway, that led me on to. So just stay safe, people. Stay as isolated as you can, without being completely on your own all of the time. If you want to be around people, just get out for a run or you know, whatever, to the shop, get yourself some groceries, or just go for a walk, but you know, just keep it sensible. And if you're a younger person or even an older person that goes out on the pubs and club scene, then, you know, just for the time being, just for the next 2, 3, 4 weeks at least, just till you see what's happening, just keep yourself away from it. Just don't risk it. So it's crazy times, people, it really is. And if you find yourself at night at a petrol station and there's nobody at the counter and you hear noises in the staff only bit at the back, don't go in there, people! Have you not played the game? That's my last piece of advice to you. Get the fuck out of there and go somewhere else. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So that took me on to what was I going to play. And I already had this... I'm just looking at my notes here to make sure I'm covering all my beginnings bits. And we'll get on to PS5 versus Xbox Series X in a little bit, which is the main part of the video. But I just wanted to get all this stuff out of the way first. I had this itch to play The Lord of the Rings War in the North for a while. And I've had it on PlayStation. I was really hoping it was going to hit back compat, and I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And it never happened. So, because I have it on both 360 and PlayStation 3, I hammered it on on Xbox 360 when it first came out. I think I must have played it multiple times trying to go for all the Gs. Can't remember whether I managed it or not. I don't think I did. I don't think I was far off though. And I bought it on the PS3 because I bought the PS3 quite late in the day of the PS3 life cycle. It's a Slim that I've still got. I got it for my 40th birthday. That was a long time ago, people. So I've had it for nearly 49 years. I'm 48 now, 49 in April. And so, and it's still cracking away. It's a fantastic machine, that. And it's the nice Slim as well. It's not the really slim, which was a bit sort of cheapy looking. And I've got it out, and we've played a few things on it in the past. I think Game of Thrones RPG, we did a bit of that. And anyway, I had the copy of War. I never got round to playing the Lord of the Rings War in the North on it properly. For whatever reason, I just never got round to it. I think what happened was I didn't enjoy playing it on the PS3 controller. I mentioned it in one of the videos when I'm playing it. But because I can now plug in the PS4 Pro controller, the PS4 DualShock controller, you can't use it wirelessly, but if you plug it in with USB, you can still use it as a controller. So that's what I've been doing, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. So I've been hammering through that. I'm just enjoying it so much, and I'm really glad that some people are enjoying it, watching it, and thumbs up in it, because it's so much fun. I'm hoping it's so much fun to watch because it's kind of a action / RPG, so there's not a lot of wandering around because it's quite linear in its areas, but it's still got discovery, it's still got loads of loot. It's a real looter. It's got loads of kit in it. And it is co-op as well if you want to play it with somebody else. So anyway, I'm thoroughly enjoying playing it. We've recorded. I'm hammering up copies for you. So I did parts 1 and 2 went up yesterday. Parts 3 and 4 have gone up today. Is that how it worked? No, I put part 1 up yesterday. 2 and 3 went up today. I think 4's going up later on tonight. So you'll have had 3 episodes today. You're going to get 5, 6, and 7 have already been recorded, and they will be going up hopefully tomorrow, so you'll get a load of those. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep pummeling through that, and depending on what happens with that, I'll start pummeling through something else, and I'm going to get as many videos up as I can for people that are looking for a bit of company and a bit of RPG. I will stick to RPG, so anyone looking for anything like that. Also, you can keep talking to me on any of my videos. You can just leave a comment or whatever if you're looking for someone to chat to. I mean, not it won't be a full on chat, but if you want to leave comments, I'll get back. I always get back to people. So I'm gonna hammer as much recording as I can, and try and post up as much as for you guys as I can through this whole coronavirus thing. At the very least. I mean, for me personally, obviously there's going to be a lot more people online all at once as well throughout the world. So, it makes sense to put up as much stuff as I can just in general. But it's nice to know that I'm putting it up and maybe providing a bit of company and a bit of diversion to take people's minds off of the horrible thing that's happening to us in the world at the moment. So anyway, stay safe, and we will move on to the PS5 versus Xbox through Series X. Sorry, I nearly said 360. Then I nearly said 1. So there's a number. Right. Okay. So for those of you who are catching up, let me know in the comments below. By the way, if you're enjoying the Lord of the Rings War in the North, let me know if you enjoyed it when it first came out. Let me know if you like the fact that I've started throwing it up. I just felt like it would be a bit different, and I was really buzzing to play it. So anyway, so for those of you that didn't know, we've had loads of news constantly about the Xbox Series X, and everyone's been getting dead excited about it. We've had absolutely nothing from PlayStation up until this week, where Mark Cerny, who's like the lead designer and stuff of the PlayStation 4 and now the PlayStation 5, and he has... it was... To put this in perspective, this was meant to be something that he was doing at GDC, which was cancelled because of the coronavirus, so they decided to do it online and just invite everybody to watch it. So this would normally only have been seen by developers, it was always going to be a technical talk. It wasn't meant to be a big reveal of the PlayStation 5. So for all those people that were like, oh, this is boring, just show us what it looks like, show us a controller, look, this is not what this was about. This was about them explaining how they've gone about designing the PlayStation 5, what it's going to give to developers to make developing games better than it's ever been before, and life-changing for developers so far as the way that they can design games now. And that was what that whole thing was about. So it wasn't boring, it's just you didn't understand what that was meant to be about. All right? I think from a Sony perspective, I think they probably got it wrong in the marketing sense of it. I think they should have been more upfront and clear about the fact that's what it was, but that's what it was always going to be. It wasn't a PlayStation 5 reveal. It was a deep dive, and they called it that, a deep dive into the technical specs of a PS5 and how they came to design it the way that they did. And that's exactly what Mark Cerny gave us, and he talked it well, and he presented it well, and you know, if you're a dev or a technical person, it was great to watch. As a person that's not like heavily technical or anything on that front, I found it interesting anyway, because it was interesting the way that they described some of the things that they have to think about when they want to push things forward. Things like, it doesn't matter if you stick all this power into it, if you can't really release the bottlenecks that are always inherently there. You've got to find other ways to make that better, as well as all the power you've stuck over here, or the SSDs that you've stuck there. Otherwise, that's never going to get through at the same speed. So there's a whole load of things that he talked about. And I think the one thing that people have picked up on, and they're going, the Xbox Series X is better because it's 12 teraflops, and the PS5 is not as powerful because it's only 10.3 teraflops. That's not strictly true, because yes, if you're measuring that compute unit power, then that's fine. Yes, that is more powerful over there. But the Sony development team decided they were going to go down a different route. Rather than spend the money having to match that 12 teraflops of power, they felt they'd get better results by going with the 10.28, so we'll say 10.3 teraflops of compute unit there, and then put extra effort into making the solid state drive functionality completely change the way that games will inherently play. And he talked about the fact that at the moment, right, for example, the one good example he gave was, or easily understandable, was that when you're in a game at the moment and you find yourself either in a lift or walking down a really long zigzaggy corridor for no reason whatsoever with nothing happening, these are all areas that have been put in specifically so that the game has time to load what's going to happen next. And it's to try and prevent, loading screens all over the place and stuff. Also, fast travel isn't fast, is it? We're still stood there for half the time. You probably would have been quicker just, walking there. So, those are the sort of things that he's been talking about. And you wouldn't even, he's talking about the way that they've designed this system. You won't even see a transition between going from this bit to that bit, because the loading screen will no longer exist. That's how quickly the data is going to be getting from, you're talking about 6 gigabytes a second. I mean, that's like, what? Literally, you could turn round and round and things have just loaded, before you even turned. The stuff that he was talking about was just unbelievable. So all of those sort of, they don't have to think about designing a game like that anymore. They can put all their efforts into designing a game exactly the way they wanted to design a game, without having to put pointless things in it in order to manage how data is going to load, because they won't even have to worry about how data is loading. So this is what PlayStation have focused on. They got the hardware, the core hardware, compute unit and GPU sorted. That's what we're going to do with it. It's Uber. Don't think it's not Uber just because it's not matching 12. The difference between 10.3 and 12 is not much at this stage in the game. It doesn't mean an awful lot. So it's going to be very interesting. Don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that the PlayStation 5 is better than the Xbox Series X or vice versa. I'm simply saying, don't look at those specs and think that the Xbox Series X is going to play the games better than the PS5, because we don't know that yet. Because it depends what you're looking for from your experience. It may well be that you're getting 60 or 120 frames per second on the Series X, But on the PS5, you're getting, say, 50 frames per second, but everything's happening, loading like this, but it's not doing that on the Series X. So it depends. It's all dependent on what both of them have done with their underlying architecture. And it's going to be really interesting to see when your digital foundries and stuff do comparisons on these new consoles when they finally hit, as to how they determine which is playing the best. Because the way that it's working is just, I mean, the way I think both companies have actually done brilliantly in their whole concept of what they wanted to do with the next generation. And I'm really stoked to see what's going to come from both of them. I, at the moment, still feel like my primary console at the moment is going to be the Xbox Series X. Because I'm until I see the DualShock 5 or whatever they're going to call it controller, I'm still not as comfortable on that controller. I prefer the Xbox One controller. I have a bit of a love for the Xbox One environment. I like the Gs. I like the way they pop in. I don't know. There's just something I like about it. The menu obviously could be better with less advertising and stuff. I don't know if that's ever going to change much. Yeah, well, it has changed. It's a lot better than it was. Whether Series X is better with it, I don't know. We'll find out. And I just adore my Xbox One X. So I'm still PlayStation at the moment. I'm going to get both at launch anyway, and the PlayStation will be specifically for PlayStation titles. And then on the flip side, I'll have all my cross-gen stuff will be on there, obviously, with the Xbox exclusives on the Series X. So at the moment, I'm still Series X camp, because from all of my third-party gaming and their exclusives and just exclusives on the PS5. But that could change depending on what we see, what we hear, what goes on. He also talked about the fact they've done a lot of work on how the system cools itself down or decides to cool itself down. Because they're aware that the fan noise on pretty much every PlayStation version is just loud a lot of the time, especially with the first party stuff. And he said they've done a lot of work on that, and they've redesigned how it decides to cool it down, and they've also redesigned the coolant system itself. So I'm hoping, because it's notable when I'm playing Lord of the Rings War in the North at the minute on the PS3, it is deathly silent. But every PS4 has been so noisy that I think they were more worried about the fact that it was just they didn't want any deaths. They just wanted it to always be cool, and they only had one way of deciding that. I think it overcompensates because it kind of computes stuff and says, well, I could reach this temperature, so just keep blowing. So they've done a lot of work in trying to make it a more silent machine, and I'm all for that, and that could tempt me back in there a bit more. So I think what we'll do now is I've got the compare chart, and I'll try and get a copy of this. I've got it on my phone as it happens, but I'll try and get a copy that I can put behind me as I walk through it. And a heads up to IGN, because I'm using their compare chart. So if you want to see it, elsewhere, you can go to IGN's website and just I just went to the app actually and just put comparison, and it brought it up pretty much a third option down or something like that. Flaggins up to you all. If I said it today, flaggins up to you all before we get cracking with the actual comparison. Oh, that's nice, people. The sun's blazing outside. So I'm sorry if the lighting is going on and off. It's the sun coming through the windows as it does. Right. I shall have to don my spectacles, people. Hello. Sexy. Everything about me so sexy. Right. That's that copyrighted. Cool, it was like we were at a live gig there, people. Right, here we go. So, starting from the top of the compare chart, we've got price we don't know on either of them. It's going to be interesting as well to see, because for me, if Sony do produce a console at a lower price than the Xbox Series X, and they're kind of admitting that it didn't cost them as much to make it, for me, I still think the two consoles are going to be on par for price, but I guess we'll find out. And I still think there's going to be, certainly from an Xbox standpoint, I still think there's going to be an Xbox Series S or something that's lower that's probably around the 9 teraflop mark, and without a hard drive. Without a Blu-ray disc drive or something like that, that's at a lower cost that people can still get involved with. I still think that's going to happen, and it's still massively rumoured that it is in development. It just hasn't been announced yet because they want to push the most powerful one. So we'll find out soon enough. I'm now less convinced that that's the case with PlayStation. I don't think they're going to have more than one console. I think they'll have one console, and I think it will probably come in at probably around $450. I think $400 will be a stretch. Series X, I've just said they'll be on comparison, but I think Series X might be $500 with what they've done. They've also gone with their own memory as well, so which we'll get to. So price we don't know about. Release dates, both holiday 2020. We don't know exactly when. Optical drive. So this is your Blu-ray disc player. They've both got a 4K UHD Blu-ray drive in them. I bet that stings. It stings Microsoft every time they've got to put up a Sony device inside their system. Anyway. So even Sony is still making money even if you buy an Xbox. A game DVR. RAM. Both got 16GB GDDR6 RAM. For some reason, they've put 256-bit in brackets on the PlayStation one, but not on the Xbox one. I don't know what the difference is between that and not having that in brackets. 256-bit. So anyway, they've both got 16GB GDDR6. Memory bandwidth on the PlayStation is 440 gigabits per second. And on the Xbox, it's 560 gigabits per second, up to 6 gigabits at 335 gigabits per second, whatever the hell that means. So it seems to be higher on the Xbox. The CPUs are both 8 times Zen 2 core at... Well, the CPU on the... Yeah, I remember I'm talking about this. It's capped. The CPU's capped in a boost mode type thing at 3.5 gigahertz, and the Xbox is still 8 times N2 cores at 3.8 gigahertz, but theirs is sort of dynamic, sort of kind of make it up on the fly, so you're not always going to be guaranteed it, I don't think. So it's going to be interesting to see how those two things pan out. They're pretty much on par. I think the Microsoft one looks slightly higher, but it's because it's being dynamic and it's allowing it to peak. Whereas Sony are saying, no, that's your cap. So 3.5. The GPU is a custom AMD Radeon RDNA 2, I believe, on both of them. But they've got their own custom designs on it. So, but these are the things, these are going to be, they've both got ray tracing on them, and 3D audio is on the 3D audio via the Tempest engine on the PS4. There's no mention of that on the Xbox. They're going really heavily with this 3D audio on the PlayStation 4, really heavily. Like, they see that as part of the future of gaming. I mean, they were talking about, like, when you're in a game at the minute, you've got your headphones on, there's the rain noise, for example. And the way he described it was that they can actually put in individual raindrop noises to the front, to the back, to the side. And you know, they can basically place noises around you, and it immerses you even more into that environment. And he talked a long time on it, because that's one of the massive things they want to bring into the PlayStation. And they sort of started hinting at it with some of the Naughty Dog titles and stuff in the PS4, but they've got a lot more leverage in this new system, and I'm quite excited about that, because I play with my headphones on a lot. Like, and he mentioned Dead Space as sort of old school type game, and he said, like, you could literally, when we put this in place, if that was a game that we could do it with, you would be able to hear that there was a necro, like, literally to the left back corner of where you were, or the front right, you know, to the side, or you could literally hear where they are, turn, do it, and that sort of stuff. So that's really exciting. There's no mention of 3D audio at all with the Xbox. So that's a massive boon for PlayStation. I think that's really exciting that they're doing that. And I kind of want I kind of want consoles to do different things. This is why the Switch is so popular. It does its own thing. It doesn't care about what the other two are doing. These two obviously care about what each other are doing to an extent, because they're always going to be in some form of battle. Not everyone's as lucky as me that can afford to buy both at the day one, or ever for that matter. So I get why people need to make a choice, but make the choice based on what experience you're going to get out of it. Do you want for an extra 1.5 teraflops or whatever it is? Do you want to give up 3D audio, or give up the speed at which the designers can design these games and make things happen like this? They're going to happen quickly on both consoles, but we don't know if it's going to happen as quickly on both consoles. So yeah, I mean it's exciting stuff. I'm pleased that Sony are doing little things like that, or big things like that are different altogether from Xbox. Just like I'm quite, well, we'll get to memory in a minute. The way that they've done it is different. Video output is 4K on. It's interesting that they'll both be native 4K. For some reason, it says native 4K and 8K on the Xbox One, and it says 4K and 8K support on the PlayStation One. I don't know why it says native on the Xbox and not on the other one. But they both support 4K and 8K with 120 Hz refresh. So they're both pretty much on par there. Okay, so the data transfer speed. This is the bit we were talking about earlier. And this is I/O throughput. And this is where Mark Cerny was talking about it doesn't matter how fast you make your memory if you can't fix this other stuff, because your memory can, it'll be super quick, but it needs to push that stuff through. And if all it hits is a bottleneck of other stuff that can't cope with it, you're still going to have a lag. So Sony have completely redesigned that entire infrastructure, the I/O infrastructure throughput, so that it can handle that immediate change that they need, the immediate load of the 5 gig or whatever it is of data they want to load in a second. So that's the big difference. And in this particular case, you're talking about, on the PlayStation side, 5.5 gigabytes per second raw with 8 to 9 gigabytes per second compressed, compared to 2.4 gigabyte raw and 4.8 gigabyte compressed on the Xbox. That is twice as fast as the Xbox. That's going to have a significant difference on a game playing on either device, without any shadow of a doubt. That is a massive difference. And that is, to me, that's a bigger difference than 1.3 teraflops versus 10.3 versus 12. So it's going to be very interesting. As I said, it's going to be very interesting. I'm not being nasty either way. I'm just saying, because I'm still Xbox camp at the minute. But that is a massive, I say Xbox camp, I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. I'm still going to be doing most of my gaming on the Xbox as my brain works at the moment. But that is huge, people, and you won't understand exactly what that means until you see it in action and see it compared. It's going to be really, really interesting to see. So that is a massive, massive boon for the PlayStation as opposed to the Xbox. So at the moment, the Xbox has got the advantage a little bit in the GPU and a little bit in the compute units for that 12 teraflops and stuff like that. Whereas PlayStation have got the boom when it comes to the 3D audio and the throughput of that speed of RAM, along with the RAM that they're using, which should be there yet. External storage, sorry. So yeah, that moves on nicely. So the internal storage, both, well, it's a bit odd, this one, because both are technically a terabyte, but on the PlayStation, it's 825 gigabytes. So some part of that terabyte is being used elsewhere, whereas on the Xbox, it's 1 terabyte. NVMe on both, I think. So it's a little bit disappointing. I understand why it's a terabyte. I get it. It's very, very expensive in comparison to a hard disk drive. But this solid state drives, they're basically memory as opposed to a spinning disk, effectively. So it's releasing stuff, instantaneously almost, if you can imagine. But they've still had to make their own proprietaries to go inside their own systems in order to then be built specifically to do things particularly quickly, which makes for the other interesting point, which is external storage. So what happens then when I run out of space? Because I'm on a 1 terabyte PS4 Pro now and I've not got enough room on it. And I'm on an Xbox One X and I don't have enough. I've got an external drive attached to that, another terabyte, which is rammed full of loads of other stuff. Now, the downside is, yes, you can plug in an external hard drive if you want and put a bunch of stuff on it, but you won't be able to play those games from there. You'd have to shift them from there. If you wanted to play them, you'd have to shift them from there and stick them onto the internal drive. So you could only use the hard drive as a storage unit. You can't play from them. And the reason for that is because if they're going to design games specifically to work from this new uber fast system and the memory and the IO throughput and all of this stuff, these need to be reliant on that throughput being that quick. It can't possibly do it with it running from a hard drive. It would just fall on its arse. Because you're then not making as we talked about earlier, you're not making a game where you've got to have weavy corridors to help load stuff in. You don't have any of that now because they've designed the game specifically for that speed. So they have to run from this new memory. So the external storage will support the hard disk drives, but you won't be able to play the games from them. I think there was a prerequisite to that though. I think possibly you could play. We need to check this, but I think you can play Xbox and 360 games from it, back compats. Maybe Xbox One games. Maybe, but that's going to be tricky ground because if you're going to update the games to be able to be Uber versions for the Xbox Series X or whatever. So anyway, I think older games can be played from the hard disk drive, but all the newer ones would have to be from the memory anyway. The other part is that Microsoft have gone down a route that I quite like actually. They've gone down an instant swap disk. They've made their own in conjunction with Seagate. They've made a proprietary, which is basically means it's their own memory stick that will only plug into a socket they've got on their new Xbox Series X, and you can swap them out. So you can put as much stuff on it, 1 terabyte, put as much stuff on it, and then put another one in, put as much stuff on it, and then just keep swapping them out as you need them. Now that's fine. It's a great idea. I love that. The problem is the price of them is going to be ridiculous. I mean, for a 1 terabyte non-proprietary one, it's about a 1 terabyte. It's probably about $200 or something. So they're not cheap, these things. And then you make a proprietary one, you've got the R&D costs on that, the research and design costs, so you're probably going to be looking at a lot more. So it's whether or not people can afford the damn things. Whereas Sony have gone with a different idea where they're going to test third-party products of other people's memories that would fit the system and also work fast enough with the system to be used in that way. However, it looked like it's not something you can just plug in and out like the Xboxes. It looks like almost like, just now you can swap out your hard drives and stuff like that. It looks a bit more like that. So it's not something you'd want to continuously try and put in and out with new ones and all that malarkey. So there's a bit of a difference there. I think Xboxes is smoother because you could have multiple cards. The problem is that the price, we don't know what the price is, but it's not going to be cheap. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that works. But they've both come up with their own way of expanding that storage externally. Well, in PlayStation's case, I guess it's internally because you're going to have to put it inside the thing. That will work with the new games. So that's great, but it's going to be expensive, I think. The other big thing for me is... Okay, they're both, not remote. Remote play is going to work on both. USB Type-C is on the PlayStation, but it's not been mentioned on the Xbox yet. I'd be surprised if it wasn't. Alright, there's a bunch of port stuff going on. There's no real comparison for... So that's the crux of it. The other big thing for me is the way that they've both dealt with backward compatibility. There was the big thing, people recently were like, oh, the PlayStation's going to do backward compliant all the way back to PS1, PS2, PS3 and PS4. It's the complete opposite. They're basically only talking about PS4 backward compatibility, and even at launch They're only saying that about 100 of the best games will be available and work. So we're not even guaranteed at this point that all PS4 games will work on a PS5. So that lands a whole bombshell on me, because it's like, well, I don't want to keep my PS4. I've already got a PS3 and now a PS4, and I don't want a PS5. I don't want three of the bloody things. I've got a PS2. So I've got a 2, a 3, a 4, and now I'll have a 5. So they need to sort that out, because I've got a massive back catalogue of PS4 games. So I'm going to have to slowly check those games on a list. Hopefully they'll provide me one. And anything that isn't covered that I would like to play again, I might have to hold off selling my PS4 Pro, which is money I could get back from buying the PS5. So Xbox, on the other hand, have handled that supremely. I'm still convinced that PlayStation are only bothering with back compatibility because Microsoft are forcing it on them. Because if they don't do it, it'd be an uproar. They'd be like, well, why can Xbox do it and you can't? So Microsoft at this point, I'm still slightly unclear, because they keep saying you can play games from every generation, but they're still not saying the words, but only the ones we've converted to backward compatibility. You know, at the moment, they're almost selling it like you can stick any game in and it will just work. But that, I'm not convinced that's the case. I think they're just selling it wisely, but it is still only the backward compatibility ones that will work. Because no one's actually said, yes, I can put a 360 disc in that wasn't back compatted and it will work. I've still got 360 games that haven't been back compatted. Well, War in the North is one of them. I've got that on 360 upstairs. But as I say, it never hit back compat, which is why I'm playing it on the PS3 to get the trophies. So I've still got the 360 upstairs as well. Well, in the attic. Because there are games that I might want to go and revisit, much like I have done here. I could have done War in the North on the 360. I just thought I'll do it on the PS3 for the trophies. Microsoft have by far been the people that have dealt with backward compatibility way, way better. And, you know, they've done that. And I think, to be fair, though, they were almost forced to do it the way that back compat worked in the end, because that was their saving grace for the Xbox One. So, you know, what a great job Phil Spencer's done, honestly. He said, you know, way at the beginning that he was going to bring them back to being the force to be reckoned with, and he's done exactly that. Obviously, the big deal for them is going to be getting the new Xbox Series X to have games that people will buy it for. And I don't think people will buy it for Halo 6 that aren't already Xbox people. You're not going to pull PlayStation people away from PlayStation because of Halo 6 or Gears of War. So you need to start coming up with titles that people are going to buy your console for. People will buy a PS4 or PS5 just to play the Last of Us games from Naughty Dog. Just to play Spider-Man, just to play God of War. People will buy a console to play that stuff. So they need to, and they're on with it. They've bought their studios. They're going to give their studios all this time. But those studios, they need to develop proper AAA jaw-dropping titles that people are going to want to buy a console to play. Or a PC, because everything they do is PC or Xbox now, I think. So anyway, it's super exciting. So I mean, from my perspective, I'm like, I find it funny. Like, it's already ages ago. It already went back to this console war nonsense from fanboys all over the damn place, being stupid bloody idiots. It doesn't matter. Like, both of the consoles have been designed, by the sounds of it, superbly, but they're gonna have very different things that make them a very different experience. So it's going to be really interesting to see when people like Digital Foundry compare a third-party title, for example, as to what the benefits are to playing on one or the other. You know, it could be that, as I say, it could be you're getting the 80 frames per second on the Xbox because of those extra teraflops, but you're only getting 70 frames per second on the PlayStation, but you're getting 5 seconds, 10 seconds faster on a screen load or something. Along with your 3D audio against, whatever else. So it's a really, really interesting thing. For me, the 3D audio is only going to be a big deal if they can get the third-party studios to take it on board, because I think at the moment it's only something that the Sony studios themselves have used or tried to adapt. So if they can get third-party people involved in that, that's going to be massive. It's going to be so good. I mean, imagine a third party. Like, imagine if you were playing Call of Duty and they made it cross-platform, right? And you're on an Xbox with not 3D sound, and you're on a PlayStation with 3D sound, and you can hear exactly where somebody's footsteps are. I mean, that to someone playing that type of game who's really good at it, or that's that'd be a massive, massive bonus. But for me, I don't play those sort of games. But for me, the immersive part of that 3D sound would be incredible. I don't know why I've still got these glasses on, people. If you take your glasses off, everything's blurry for about 20 minutes. So there you are. I'm super excited for both consoles. Like, I wish people wouldn't argue or throw silly things around at each other. For the sake of, like, if you want to throw 1.5 teraflops at someone, like, that is not making a difference between these two consoles. Like, the heart and soul of what makes these two consoles individual is going to be the way that they've designed their entire architecture and the extra things that Sony have put in that Xbox haven't, and vice versa, what Xbox have put in that Sony haven't. So for me, at the moment, I'm not thinking that the Xbox is more powerful than the PlayStation or vice versa. I'm just feeling like they've both come up with a great console. They're both uberly powerful, twice as powerful as what we have now. On the X and Pro versions are twice as powerful as both of those, and I'm super excited to see more of what's going to happen. Mark Cerny mentioned that he's excited to see the next thing happen, which is the teardown, he called it, which I assume is a next public event thing that they'll do with his technical people showing off what they've done with the design, what they've done, and we'll get to see the actual product, get to see some gameplay, that sort of stuff. And I don't think that's going to be too far away. I think they're on with it. So there you are. That's all I have to talk about, people. It's very exciting, isn't it? Let me know in the comments below, people, about any of that comparison stuff. I want to know what you think. Are you an Xbox person? Are you a PlayStation person? Are you bothered about the minute teraflop difference? Are you excited about the super fast I/O that PlayStation have come up with? Are you excited about the 3D audio? Just let me know in the comments below about which console you think you're going to go for. I suspect that most of the people on the channel, I don't know, actually. I mean, I'll be surprised. I'm not going to say anything. Like, I've found the power tipping back to a central point over the last 2 years because of the X. I think people have got a lot. I mean, the respect that was on the Xbox for the 360, all of that respect for me has come back through the Xbox One X, and I think people are very excited about the Xbox Series X without any shadow of a doubt. But PlayStation are, I think, because it wasn't a hoorah sort of exciting presentation, we've still not had that big announcement where here it is, here's a controller yet. People are finding it hard to get stoked up about the PlayStation because all they've had is this sort of, PowerPoint presentation from Mark Cerny. So I'm super excited for both. I think it sounds like they've both done tremendous jobs on the next gen. So here's up to see what's happening. Flagons up to you all once again. I'm going to chill out for the evening now. I need to, I've rendered, what have we done? Well, we've got War in the North Part 5 is already rendered and ready to upload. So that's ready to go. Part 6 and 7 are recorded, but I haven't rendered them together yet. So I'll render those probably this evening so that they're ready to post up over tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow and Sunday you'll see at least parts 5, 6 and 7 posted up for you. And as I say, 1, 2, 3, 4 are all up there now. 4 just went live at 6 o'clock, I think. So, I take a hit for that when I do it because I bypass people noticing them going up and the views are quite low. But hopefully people will realise the series is going and they'll not miss any. I apologise for parts 3, 4 and 5 because my audio is really, really low. And I don't know what happened. I think what might have happened was that on the selection of mics, I think I've got a USB microphone here on this side where I do my recording. I've also got one on this side as well because I haven't done one for a while, but when Craigie Boy came around and joined in and stuff like that, I wanted the same microphone. And I think what I've done is I've selected that microphone instead of the one that was in front of me, so you can hear me because it's on quite high sensitivity, but it's very faint. So I have put a note on parts 3, 4, and 5 just to say at the beginning, sorry for the low commentary, that 3, 4, and 5 are affected, and then it's back to normal. 6 and 7 are bang on again. So 1 and 2 and 6 and 7 are fine. It's just 3, 4, and 5. So I apologise for that. I don't know what happened. You can still hear me just. And the gameplay's still awesome. So there were quite big episodes as well. I think two of the episodes went on for an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes, and it just depends how the game rolls on as to how long I decide to keep going. And I will keep pummeling videos up for you people, and hopefully it will give you some company and help and I don't know, distraction for what's happening with the, should we say it again, coronavirus. There you are, people. That is all I have for you. I shall be doing nothing but rambling if I carry on from this point. And I have been talking for the best part of an hour, people. Anyway, as I said before, let me know in the comments below about any of the things that I've been talking about tonight. Talk to me, people. Talk to me. I love you guys for my vlogs because I always get a consistent high like level and, a solid view level, depending on what the title is, but always a solid view level anyway. And but sometimes you're a bit reluctant to speak to me, so leave some comments and I will get back to you all. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this vlog of mine today, and I shall see you all in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.